because I'm not a health expert, but according to the figures, the rate of malaria cases has gone down, and some are attributing that to this Operation Clean the Nation. So if you look at it, it is something that is very, very significant, and that people should cherish it and then take it as their own.
In Bakau Mamakoto and Kachikali, the sight of young people from the area busy cleaning drainages provided some evidence of the level of community involvement in the exercise, particularly among young people. Elsewhere in Kololi, a women's association called Group Jubo led efforts there as enthusiastic women members take part in the cleanup exercise. The president of the group, Ami Job, and the alcalde of Kololi, Abdullah Juf, both highlighted the significance of the day, urging Gambians to emulate such efforts to reduce the threat of malaria-borne diseases. The deputy mayor of KMC, who also doubles as the councillor for Kololi ward, having toured the area, shared with GRTS his impression of the work done by the people.
And I want to believe that there was a lot of impact, because looking at the the highway, along the Talending area, we saw a lot of people coming out to participate, particularly the security forces. You see, I also want to say that it has not been very effective or very good when it comes to certain areas by virtue of the program that was held yesterday. A lot of people were engaged in that program, and then it went long into the nights. So that may be a factor. And as a result, I want to believe that with all these odds, I think there was a positive impact, and then people have come out in their numbers and they have participated, as we saw in the other areas.
Residents of West Coast region, joined by the staff of the United States Embassy in Banjul, also embarked on a massive cleansing exercise on the Tangi Beach as part of events marking World Earth Day. For GRTS Newsday's Babkar Senghor.
The Women's Bureau, in partnership with UNFPA, have developed a model on gender-based violence for use by the Gambia Police Force. Officials recently met for the formal handing over of the document to the Gambia Police Force. The manual, as Abdullah Baji reports, is expected to capacitize police in dealing with women abuse.
It threatens development of women worldwide, which is fairly why the issue still takes center stage in forums across the globe, as women continue to suffer from domestic violence and other forms of abuse. At the apex of the public service machinery, the police couldn't have been presented with a training manual on gender-based violence at a better time, when women, especially girls, have been robbed of their future by abuse and maltreatment. The manual, presented by the Women's Bureau in partnership with the UNFPA, is designed to address violence against women, recognizing its uncommon upsurge across the world. In close touch with the community, the police are expected to contribute immensely in the quest to combat violence of all forms, which is why the Bureau is bent on acquainting the security force with vital information on methods to address the issue and curb this constant menace. Commending the Women's Bureau for the well-timed initiative, the Commissioner of Police in Banjul said the information provided by the manual will critically aid law enforcement personnel to stay ahead of perpetrators, noting that the training manual will be incorporated in the Police Academy training manual for greater diffusion.
One of the critical tenets of this reform process is capacity building of the police officers. The police management is of review that it takes well-trained and well-informed officers to deliver professional service to the people of the Gambia and the world at large. Therefore, the Women's Bureau and the UNFPA deserve all the commendations for coming up with such a brilliant idea to arm our officers with the requisite knowledge which would enable us to achieve our objectives concerning issues of gender.
The Deputy Executive Director of Women's Bureau emphasized the government's commitment in addressing gender-based violence, highlighting the international instruments signed and ratified to promote and protect the development of women and the conventions eliminating all forms of violence against the female persona.
This is a clear manifestation of government commitment in the implementation of national and regional treaties and conventions such as the AU Solemn Declaration on Gender Equality in Africa, the Beijing Platform for Action, the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, as well as the African Charter of Human and People's Rights and on the rights of women in Africa.
In an in-depth presentation of the module, GAMCOTRAP's program officer shared how the module was developed.
Just to assure you that we did not develop this manual based on our subjectivity. We base it on the reality. We base it on the lived realities of Gambians so that we make it a Gambian touch. Because we looked around the continent and we searched various manuals used by police officers. We took clue from some of them and we contextualized what we have so that we have an objective, factual manual for the Gambia.
The commissioner of the police academy described the manual as enriching while noting its benefits to the academy, especially for prospective officers who have to pass through the school.
I am happy to say that the document has come at a very good time. Good time in the sense that the training of the recruits is coming to a completion in a month time. And very soon from now we will be having an order intake which will give us the opportunity to be able to start that training with those that are coming.
A perfectly timely intervention by the Women's Bureau for law enforcement personnel who may have to deal with issues regarding gender-based violence. This is just the manual to raise awareness and guide them towards effectively addressing a persistent hazard against women. For GRTS News, I am Abdullah Baji.
A two-man team from the Dutch Foundation from the Netherlands were recently in Banjul to help install 2 overhead water tanks at the community's health center. The team also provided for the maintenance work on some faulty equipment at the health faculty, including repairing of malfunctioning sinks and water supply systems. The intervention by the Dutch Foundation was welcomed and appreciated by the residents of the village. Welcome back. President Barack Obama says the U.S. will conduct a vigorous investigation into whether Syria used chemical weapons. Mr. Obama met with Jordan's King Abdullah Friday. He says the U.S. has to act prudently, but it cannot stand by and permit the use of chemical weapons on civilians. This is not the first time the Syrian government has been suspected of using chemical weapons. CNN's Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr has more about that.
Here have been attacked with chemical weapons, but no confirmation. Now, suddenly, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel traveling in the Middle East.
The U.S. intelligence community assesses with some degree of varying confidence that the Syrian regime has used chemical weapons on a small scale in Syria, specifically the chemical agent sarin.
The White House sent letters to Congress responding to questions about chemical weapons use and calling for a UN investigation. After the debacle over Iraqi weapons, Hagel says the U.S. needs to confirm exactly what happened.
We need all the facts. We need all the information.
Senator John McCain told CNN's Jake Tapper it's not the response he wants.
A disappointment, but not surprise. The president has not wanted to engage in Syria in any way, any meaningful way, for a couple of years.
McCain wants a no-fly zone, weapons provided to the Syrian opposition, and chemical weapons secured. President Obama had promised action, but was never specific.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus.
A senior U.S. official says the Syrians continue moving chemical stockpiles, causing even more worry. Hagel is sending the 1st Armored Division's headquarters from Fort Bliss, Texas, to Jordan. The official tells CNN it will spearhead securing Syria's weapons if ordered.
We could use airstrikes, drone strikes. There could be teams of special forces who go into the country.
But the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who is reviewing military options, says troops aren't the answer.
Planning done. You have confidence that we could secure it?